Striker Scorpion 82 is now sponsored by Warhammer Combat Cards, a card battle game featuring your favourite Citadel miniatures from the 40k universe. Build your army decks, dominate opponents in player versus player action, collect and upgrade cards to fit your strategy, improve their power and unlock unique traits. Choose from all 40k factions, take part in campaigns based on iconic 40k battles, rise to the top of the leaderboard and win glory. Free to download and play, link is in the video description below or on the channel homepage, and by using the unique link it helps support the channel. Thanks and enjoy the game. Right, welcome to this complete army video. It is for the Thousand Suns Chaos Space Marines. So the idea of this video is to bring this faction up to date for 9th edition Warhammer 40,000. So you're going to see it's Battleforged army. 2,000 points is the points limit here. Not quite as big as my 8th edition army, just with the points rises that have taken place across the board really for all the factions for 9th edition, but this is the list here that I propose and plan to use in my future games. So the idea of my armies that I have, all of the factions that I run, is to run them where they're a good representation of the factions, so sort of a decent sort of narrative style army, but at the same time always try and make them as competitive and as potent as possible. So that's the kind of balance I go for. So if you do come up against a more competitive player, yeah, they stand a pretty good chance of performing well and if not winning, but at the same time you're immersing yourself in what that faction is like and the play style and so on. It's not just a win at all costs list, and I always try and produce lists and armies that are good fun and something different and sort of a different approach than what the standard Google copy and paste lists that are out there. Something different for you, and you're welcome to copy this list, use elements of it, copy it entirely if you wish. You're welcome to go ahead and do that. Just with the army, if you like the look of the models and the way they've come out, it can be quite a challenge to paint Thousand Suns, quite a lot of detail work to do, but they're incredible models that Games Workshop have produced. It was the models themselves that got me to collect these in the first place. Just the quality of them is incredible. So originally this was a secret army project over on the Plus channel, but now it's been finished. There's another secret project going on at the moment, but Thousand Suns, I finished that project and then they burst onto YouTube. Is how the Thousand Suns arrived here on the channel. So as part of that secret project I made painting tutorials, and they're all on the Plus channel. So there is 3 painting tutorials available for the Thousand Suns. There's one for the vehicles. So that's one of the Mauler Fiends. I'll show you how to paint that from start to finish, including all the basing work. I also show you how to paint in another video the Zangors, one of the unique units that Thousand Suns can take. And there's also a painting tutorial for Rubric Marines, your sort of standard Thousand Suns model. And these are full painting tutorials that cover the basing, materials that you need, base colours, spraying, washes, shading, detail, highlighting, transfers, the whole thing is covered in all 3 of those videos. So if you're intimidated into painting Thousand Suns, or intimidated about painting them, you want a bit of help, then those tutorials are available on the Plus channel. And if you want to subscribe to the whole Plus channel, each of those videos, you find them on the Plus channel, each of those videos is available for rent or for purchase, just as an individual video if you wish, and it's for a tiny amount. And it means that you can, if you just want the tutorials, then you can go ahead and access those over on the website. The link for the website is in the video description below. But for that kind of cost, if it's a painting guide that helps you through your collection, painting all of your units, and you reach a good standard, then that's the whole point behind those tutorials, is to help you along. So 2,000 points then. I'll cover the structure, the strategy of the army. I'll cover things like psychic powers, combos, stratagems, everything here to try and show you the workings, the mechanics behind this Thousand Suns list. As I said earlier, you're welcome to copy the entire list if you wish, all down to the finest detail, or you can copy elements of it and experiment and try things out. But what I think I have here, I think is one of the stronger lists that I have on the channel, and yet at the same time I think it's a nice representation of the Thousand Suns, and I'm getting to use their unique units mostly as well, which is great. So here's my list. I'm going to go through the list. I'll bring the models in, and then we'll gradually build the army up. And then towards the end of the video, I'll zoom out and you'll get a look at the whole army just to show you the footprint of how the army looks. So the structure then I've gone for with the Thousand Sons is a Battalion Detachment. So for 9th edition, you get 12 command points. It costs you 3 command points to take the battalion. My Warlord is in the battalion, so you get the 3 command points back, so you're sitting at 12 command points. But then I take a Spearhead Detachment, that costs me 3, so then drop to 9. And then I also take a second Relic and a second Warlord trait, which I'll talk about later on, but I think it's worth it. That drops me to 7 command points, which isn't too much. I think the sacrifice is worth it, but you have to bear in mind in 9th edition now, you're getting a command point refunded, or you're gaining one at the start of each turn as well. So really it's 7 plus 5, so 12 command points really in total. That's actually really good. And then the other great thing is many of the Thousand Sons stratagems are 1 command point each, so nice and cheap. So not too fussed at dropping down to 7. I think it's worth it, as you'll see a bit later on. So we're looking at a Battalion Detachment and also a Spearhead Detachment as well. Then the theme, I'll talk about the theme first of all. The theme for my Thousand Sons army, and you'll see it as the army's put out, but the theme for them is predominantly psychers, strong psychic choices that cause horrific damage during the psychic phase. This is the idea behind it. And then to screen and protect those characters, which is a little bit more tricky now in 9th edition, but still quite doable, I think. Just have a series of psychers chucking out all the mortal wounds and damage that can come from them, and then some strong screens of units to protect them, and also some distracting units that the opponent's going to have to try and deal with, and that means the psychers are left to cause as much psychic havoc as possible. And it seems to be a strategy that's worked well in 8th edition. You see the League on the Plus channel, Thousand Sons have been doing well. I think it should continue to work well in 9th edition. Dishing out loads of mortal wounds is still a valid option to go for, I reckon. So you're choosing cults now with the updated Psychic Awakening book for Thousand Sons. So I'm going to operate 2 cults for my army. So the main battalion, which we'll set up now, I've gone for Cult of Time. So with that you get an extra psychic power that all the psychers, apart from named characters, know. Time Flux, warp charge value of 5, so it's very, very easy to manifest this power. If manifested, select one friendly Cult of Time infantry unit within 6 inches of this psyker. You can restore 1 destroyed model from the unit to the battlefield with all of its wounds remaining. It's exceptionally good to restore models back from play. I'm specifically thinking of Rubric Marines and the Occult Terminators, just bringing those models back from the dead. Absolutely fantastic. If you score a 9 or more, it's D3 models restored to play, and for a unit like Terminators, you've got 1 model left and you restore 3 of them back to play. It's so powerful. So I think that's an excellent one. So Cult of Time for sure. And you also gain access to the Hourglass of Manat relic, which is when the model carrying the relic is destroyed, at the end of the phase, return that model to play with D3 wounds remaining, placing it as close as possible to its previous position, more than an inch away from enemy models. You're guaranteed to get that model back, which again is super powerful. So Cult of Time, absolutely, definitely. So just getting the structure of the army sorted out. So the actual units then, I start off with 2 Exalted Sorcerers, so 1 and 2, affectionately known as Chicken Wing and Beaker. So the one that's got a wing on his arm, just to explain. It does help me to remember their names, which one's which during the battle, and then Beaker's one with a beak, just there. So those 2, I'll try and share all the information I can with you just to help you out, especially if you're new to collecting Thousand Sons. I'm not sure, or maybe you've got some experience with them but looking to gain some experience or get some advice and just enhance your army here. So Exalted Sorcerer, I prefer them over regular Sorcerers. They've got 5 wounds, they've got 4 attacks, so they're just that much better. And they're able to manifest 2 psychic powers and deny 1, which is great. They grant reroll 1s to Thousand Sons units within 6 inches. So remember, I'm talking about screening units to protect them. They're actually going to help those screening units by granting the reroll 1s. That's for shooting and for close combat. They've got a 5+ invuln save as well. They come with Death to the False Emperor. And I equip them I'll cover all the points as well now for 9th edition. So the Exalted Sorcerer is now actually dropped in points cost, which is excellent. They're now 100 points. I give them these two Warp Flame pistols. So the Warp Flame pistol is 6-inch range, but it's D6, it's a pistol weapon, D6 auto hits, strength 3, -2, 1 damage. That's alright, it's not too bad. And then I give them the stave, and the stave has actually come down in points as well. So for 9th edition, the stave is 0 points. It was 8 points. So it's cheaper than ever before, I think, to take Exalted Sorcerers. So I'd mightily recommend taking them. Individually, they're okay, but I've got 2 here, and I will be taking another one as well. And I really wanted to use all 3. Games Workshop, the box that these come in with multiple options that you can build these on. It's a box of 3, so it makes sense to try and use all 3 if you can. And 3 of them working together is pretty potent. 3 smites available from them, and a total of 6 psychic powers. Plus their cult power as well, so loads of psychic ability with those. They're durable enough, they can get shot to pieces if you're not careful, so screening and protecting them is quite important. So 2 Exalted Sorcerers, 105 points each, so that's those 2, and that helps me get my HQ choices for the battalion. The idea behind these is to try and keep them alive for as long as possible throughout the game, and the philosophy that I have is if I can keep my Psychers alive through to the end of the game, usually the 1000 Suns should be in a position to win. That's the idea. So the key for these is to keep these Psychers alive. These are Psychers I want to mix in amongst my other units in my sort of semi-gunline type formation, but it's no way a defensive formation, just like a block on the table of infantry units and so on. So they're meant to be in amongst that, usually in the middle of the army, the middle of the board, and they can dish out their psychic powers against the enemy and then to help their own units as well. So these 2 are equipped to help the other 1000 Suns units. So I will call out my current psychic powers that I like to use. Again, you can leave your own comments and suggestions as if you think these should be changed, but we'll let you know what these are. So for Beaker here, I usually take Temporal Manipulation. So warp charge value of 6, quite easy to make it go off. Select a friendly 1000 Suns model within 12 inches of the Psyker, or 18 inches with the plus 6 inches for 1000 Suns. That model immediately heals D3 wounds. So great for putting wounds back onto your characters. I can even use it on Maulafines to try and restore wounds on vehicles as well. So it's an excellent power, quite easy to manifest. It just helps out other units. And if I'm helping to keep my screen alive, it helps keep the Psyker alive. So he helps other units, and they in return help him stay alive. So sort of a symbiosis going on with that one, and mightily helpful. It's so helpful to have that power. Second power he's able to take is Prescience, which comes from Dark Hereticus. Warp charge value of 7, so there's some chance it will go off. It's okay. If manifested, select Heretic Astartes unit within 18 or 24 inches of the Psyker, so nice range on that. +1 to your hit rolls, so again it can help out say Rubric Marines with their shooting. 2s to hit it becomes, rerolling 1s if they're near him, because he's granting reroll 1s. So it can help out with that. It can help out in close combat. 3s to hit becomes 2s to hit, or Maulafines. 4s to hit becomes 3s to hit. It's another very helpful psychic power as well with him. So 2 very useful powers. Then Chicken Wing, I give him Glamour of Zinc, warp charge value of 7, 1000 Suns unit within 12 or 18 of the Psyker. The opponent must subtract 1 from any hit rolls. So you've got your screening infantry units, say Rubric Marines. I want to keep them alive. I'll stick a -1 to the hit rolls against them, just to try and add another layer of protection to help them out. And then the other power is Weaver of Fates, which is +1. It's manifested on a 6, which is quite straightforward, and increases the invuln save by 1 to a maximum of 3+. Brilliant, Rubric Marines 5+ invuln save, +1, 4+ invuln save. Again, just to add to the durability of that unit as they protect the Psykers. So that's the idea. And usually you'll see these 2 operating behind some Rubric Marines, and they're just casting multiple powers onto the Rubric Marines to try and keep them alive. and in return that then keeps them alive. So that's the kind of thing going on. And the idea is to, for every turn they're alive and kicking out their psychic powers, it's one step closer to dominating the battlefield and achieving victory. Then there's smites available from them if I need a bit more damage coming from those against enemy units. So that's the idea behind them too. Then the third HQ, you don't have to take a third HQ, but I have taken a third HQ for this Thousand Sons list, and that is the Demon Prince with wings. So I've had a lot of questions on the channel about this model. So there he is, like so. So this model is called a Necro Sphinx. It's from the old Warhammer, not Age of Sigmar, but from a time before that, regular Warhammer. It was from the Tomb King's model collection. He is in plastic. Problem is, he's out of production and very, very rare. You will probably find a few of them on eBay, but be prepared to pay a lot of money for them. It's an incredible model. When this was released years and years ago, if you see the original paint job or the box art for it, the paint job is utterly incredible. The marble work that's been done, I've tried to echo it here on this model. And again, I've used the same painting scheme and techniques here for the basing and for the model as you see in those painting tutorials on the Plus channel. But I've tried to echo the box art here with the marbly effect on the model. But for Demon Prince, it's that whole golden and the blue, the turquoise and the gold Egyptian theme. You know, from Tomb Kings, this model fits in absolutely perfectly. It's a Demon Prince with wings, so there he is. He has the wings, so brilliant. And I give him two Malefic Talons, a pair of Malefic Talons, and there he is equipped with them on there as well. So, you know, fluff-wise, narrative-wise, looks-wise, fits in totally perfectly. So very, very happy about that. Some people said, well, the base is the wrong size. It's an oval base, should be like one of the round bases for a Demon Prince, so maybe there's that issue. If you really were pulled up on that one, you could go to a normal base and then just maybe have him sort of rearing up to keep his feet off the ground. You could play it that way, but no one's ever really said there's much of an issue with that, so it hasn't really been a problem. But there he is. I think he matches him perfectly. Very, very unique. If you're able to get a hold of one, I got mine from a seller in New York, United States. Found it on eBay and just bit the bullet and paid the price and had him shipped over. But the pose, I didn't change. It was already built, so the pose you see here is how the original owner of the model had him built, and he's just sprayed it undercoat. Never was painted, so I was able just to spray him up in gold and then paint him up in my own colour scheme. So there he is. Pride and joy, really. You know, Egyptian theme and so on just fits in perfectly, and just some smashed up Blood Angels helmets and skulls just there on the base. So for him, Demon Prince with wings, 185 points now for 9th edition, 15 points for the twin Malefic Talons. He's about 5 points more expensive than he was, so again, not really been impacted too much by the switch to 9th edition. So there's a few things with him. This is the model that I give the relic to, the Hourglass of Manat. So when he dies, he's pretty potent in close combat, but I can be a bit more reckless with him now, because when he dies, I know he's going to come back with D3 wounds restored. Temporal manipulation, I can start restoring even more wounds onto this model. So that's really good. Stat line is pretty strong. I give him Otherworldly Presence. I do make him the actual Warlord. He's about the most durable model on the table. I make him the Warlord, and I improve his invuln save by 1. Now this is quite powerful here, because what's different here for this Demon Prince, usually a standard Demon Prince is a 5+ invuln save, but for Thousand Sons with their invuln saves you get a better version here. It's a 4+ invuln save. Then I improve it by 1 with the Warlord trait, and that gives him a 3+ invuln save all round. So close combat, shooting, whatever it is. He is a character, he's got 8 wounds, so he can be hidden behind vehicles and the right sized infantry units and so on, so he can be hidden that way. With his wings, he's jumping 12 inches, which is fantastic. So nice and quick and tough, toughness 6, 4 attacks. The Malefic Talons gives him an extra 3 attacks, gets death to the False Emperor, On the charge, he gets an extra attack. So nice lot of attacks coming through. Strength 7, AP -2, and 2 damage at a time. So he'll cut down Primaris Marines quite quickly. He can cut through vehicles. If you give him Diabolic Strength, then he'll be wounding most vehicle targets and so on 3+. And there's an extra attack there for him as well. So potent enough, not too bad at all. And if he finds himself battling against something that's quite, could strike back, he's got a 3+ invuln save to protect him. So I think he's a powerful unit to have in your Thousand Sons force. And something different from Magnus the Red. Everyone runs Magnus the Red and it's just a bit predictable, so I've tried something different here with this Thousand Sons list. So then, psychic powers for him, he's able to manifest 2 and deny 1. So obviously he's going to know Smite. And then I give him 2 powers here. Yeah, Gaze of Fate is the first one. Let's Gaze of Fate. Yes, here he can take powers. See, what's interesting with him, something else to point out, is he has access to Discipline of Change, Dark Hereticus, and Discipline of Zinc. He's got access to all 3. It's nice diversity. Others, such as Exalted Sorcerers, can't take anything from Discipline of Zinc. It's worth bearing in mind. So he's got access to all of these. So I do take from Zinc here. I give him Gaze of Fate. It's warp charge value of 6. If manifested, you can reroll a single dice later during your turn. So saves your command reroll. It also means you can double it up. So on a unit, say for example, this unit here, it's going to take some heavy firepower, 3+ invuln save, 2 have failed. I can use the Gaze of Fate to reroll 1 and a command reroll to reroll the other. So just an example, you can stack it up just to add more protection as well. So Gaze of Fate, nice and straightforward, should be able to go ahead, could save you on a perils, got a reroll there without having to use a command reroll or a stratagem. You can just get the reroll for free. You can reroll a damage roll, anything. So I think it's well worth taking that, and it's become useful plenty of times. And then, yeah, this one's for fun. Now there's others you can go for, but I've gone from here again. Treason of Zinc. Now it's quite hard to make this one go off. It's a warp charge value of 8. But if manifested, select an enemy character that is within 18 inches or 24 inches of the psychic. It's got a brilliant range on it and visible. Excluding the opponent's warlord, roll 2d6. If the result is greater than the leadership characteristic, you can treat that model as if it were a friendly model in your shooting, charge, and fight phases. At the end of the fight phase, the character reverts to being an enemy model. But I think that's really good fun. And I have manifested that a few times, and it's been fun. So I've just thrown that one in there just as a good fun alternate option. Then obviously Smite as well available for him. And I guess he's not a named character, so he'll get the Time Flux Cult power as well. So that's my 3 HQ choices. It's these 2 supporting psychic powers. This one, some helpful psychic powers, and the ability for him to fight pretty good in close combat as well. Selected targets and very, very durable. Plenty of wounds for a character. Excellent invuln save. He's guaranteed to get back up again. So he's like a Zinchi Gilliman. Next then is troops. So you need 3 troops to fulfill the battalion. I've got 4. I've chosen to take 4, but you only have to take 3. So I will put out the Rubric Marines. And I've transitioned these over from 8th edition list with all of the models. So I do have full squad of 10. Disadvantages of taking large units can be morale. Their morale's pretty good, it's not too bad. Advantages of taking large units is when you play stratagems on them, it's going to affect more models. Plus the unit becomes a bit more durable. The opponent's got to slay 10 models to wipe them out. It takes a bit more effort. The other benefit is when I'm putting psychic powers onto these, it's affecting more models again. So that 4+ invuln save is granted to the whole unit instead of a small unit. That kind of thing. So I like the idea of unit of 10. Leadership characteristic is pretty good. It should be 9. No, it's 8. Okay, so morale's okay on them. The ability to restore models back to play. I think the Aspiring Sorcerer can even take that cult power, so he can restore models to his own unit, which is fantastic. It lets them use their other powers without any hindrance, so that's really, really good. Rubric Marines are tough. If you saw a standard Marine model, they're tough enough. Yeah, 3-up save. They come with a 5+ invuln save, again, which can be improved and helped. They have the All is Dust special rule. Add 1 to save and throws the Rubric Marines if the attack has a damage characteristic of 1. You know, a lot of your small arms firepower come through. They're now going to be taking a 2-up armor save against that. And when they move, there's no minus with firing heavy weapons. So the Soul Reaper cannon becomes a real good option. Heavy 4, but that's ignored if you move. So that's excellent. I used to have flamers in the squad, but I don't bother anymore. I used to find myself needing more longer ranged firepower. Plus the improvements that have come to bolter firepower now for the Chaos Marines. You know, you stand still, you can fire. You can max out your firepower at long range. And then plus there's a brand new stratagem, or a new stratagem. It's not too brand new anymore, but it's from the update for Thousand Suns from Psychic Awakening. Infernal Fusillade it's called. Use it on a Rubric Marines or a Cult Terminator unit. If you remain stationary, you can fire again. I mean, it's pretty good. So you know, potentially, if you sat still, 4 bolter shots from each model come through here, which is utterly ridiculous. You have 35 odd shots coming through if they sit still. And if you put precedence on them, 2s to hit, get them near any of these models, and it's re-rolling 1s. That's highly accurate firepower. And then there's a stratagem as well called Veterans of the Long War, I think it is. It's +1 to your wound rolls. You can make them 3s to wound, 2s to wound, and then plus their bolters are coming through at AP -2. So, you know, in a long range firepower exchange of a tactical squad, these guys will do really well. They should do better, yeah. So they are tough enough. And the idea of these is to make them survivable, to survive, to replenish their numbers, to make them as tough and durable as possible. And the idea behind that is that they protect those. At the same time, they can dish out some nice firepower from them as well. So they are a bit slow. They're 5-inch move. It's not the slowest. And then 6 inches with the Aspiring Sorcerer. So choose wisely where you want them to come in. There is an option where you want to deploy them. There is the option, though, if needed. I've done it a few times in games. But there is the option to go for Webway Infiltration. It's going to cost you 1 command point, but you can put them into the Webway, deep strike them in. You know, get them into rapid fire range, range 12. You can deep strike in just over 9 inches away, so you can use them as a semi-ambush unit, or jump them ahead of the army, or something like that with those. So that's pretty much all the tips there for the Rubric Marines, but one of them are more solid core units to add a bit of stability to the army. Next is Zangors. Not the most popular choice for Thousand Suns players, and I don't expect too much from these in a game, but they prove to be useful for my army here. So I'm going to put out these units, and again we'll zoom out later on so you can see them all lined up, but I have 3 units of 10 of these. So if I switch them to there, and we'll put these out, and the idea of these is that they are there to provide a screen for my army to protect my other heavier units and to protect characters as well. They can be vaporized very quickly, so you have to watch out. They may not last too long. Sometimes it's a good idea just to hide them behind solid objects and so on, and behind terrain, just to make it difficult to get them removed, because the opponent can pick them off very, very quickly, and they're a bit vulnerable to flyers and so on with their firepower coming in, where they can be, you know, you're hiding behind something, the flyer boost behind, and then just guns them down. So, but having said that, if they are destroyed, it's not too much of a big problem, because they're just my sort of chaff units that will get blown away anyway, so I'm not expecting them to survive. I'm not too worried if they are gunned down, because they're the least most important units that I have here for my Thousand Suns army. So what you're seeing here on the screen is that they are bulking my army out, making it more of a presence on the battlefield. So they're creating the impression of more substance to my army, But really I'm investing in the quality here, and it's costing me points. And then just some cheap units here just to bulk the army out. And if the opponent decides to go after them and try and get rid of them, and usually they have to because they're screening, they're in the way, then that's diverting firepower and attention away from these. To give you just update on points here. So Rubric Marines then, 18 points now for 9th edition, so 180 points, 5 points for Warp Flame Pistol, the stave is now 0 points, and then I'm paying 10 points for the Soul Reaper Cannon, so 195 points for the Rubric Marines. In contrast, Zangors are 90 points a unit. Units are 10, so 90, 90, and then 90. So, your options for the Zangors, you can go for auto pistols and chainswords for an extra attack, which is okay. I've gone for Zangor blades. It doesn't cost you either way. So Zangor blades is what I've gone for. It's strength, these are strength 4 and toughness 4, so they're quite tough. They have a 5+ inv save. And then you get an extra attack with the Zangor blades, so you don't miss out on that chainsaw bonus. But what you do get is the AP -1, just to take the edge off the armour. So you're fighting against Space Marines or Tower Infantry, just to get that AP -1 just to chip off. Or you're charging to Terminators, there's a 2-up save, which is really annoying. It drops to a 3+, so that can help out a bit with them. They are Relic Hunters. You get to reroll failed hit rolls in the fight phase when targeting characters, so they can be useful for that. Usually in games they're a screen, they get shot at, but that's intentional. I want that to happen, so it's not too much of a big deal. And usually it's these units, some of the first to succumb to enemy firepower and in close combat. But that's all part of the plan. This is damage anticipation, where you plan where your damage is going to come through. You can't live in a dreamland and expect to take no damage. It's going to come somewhere, and so you need to try and plan for that. So I offer up these as a as lambs to the slaughter, and it's intentional. When I see them being destroyed, I think, well, that's sort of what I'm planning. I want to happen. The opponent's attention to be towards them, and the whole idea is these little psychers just hidden away. They don't get picked on, and they're able to dish out the potent psychic powers and just rot the opponent's force from behind the protection of these screening units. That's the idea, sort of sharing all the tactics with you just to try and give you an idea of how to construct a potent Thousand Sons list. Or not, you may disagree, or there may be experienced Thousand Sons players that say, no, this is all wrong, Well, check out the comment section, see what people are saying in response to this video. And also, if you like the list, of course, then can say that as well in the comment section. Also, it really helps out the channel. Just say it now, just before I forget. It really helps the channel out if you just hit the like button on these videos, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification. But if you just give the video a thumbs up, it's a massive help. Just gives the video and the channel a bit of a boost. So we've bulked out of infantry and we've filled the army out quite nicely. Remember, we're sticking to this theme of screening units. Some chaffy ones, weak ones that just get blown away quite quick, and then others more solid, ones I want to last for as long as possible. So then, to add to my list is my Terminators. So some have disagreed with the structure I go for these. Some say take a unit of 10, which makes sense for stratagems. I like to go for 2 units of 5 for the flexibility side of things. With 2 units of 5, I can put them together, I can split them up, I can deep strike one, keep one on. It's just that more flexibility, and morale is not as much of an issue. You have a unit of 10, you take 9 casualties, you've got a problem with morale. So it's not as bad when you have 2 small units of 5. So 2 units of 5 Terminators. I've managed to keep them all in the list, and they've not been removed, which is great news. So 1 unit just there, and they're both configured exactly the same. And I make sure that they're in this Cult of Time detachment to get the ability to restore models to play. So really important that they have that ability. So stick them there, and then the Exalted Sorcerer, or Aspiring Sorcerer just there. That's my 2 units of Terminators. Now I've got 2 more infantry units that are nice and bulky, tough. You got it's Terminators we're dealing with here. So 2 up arm save, 2 wounds each, toughness 4, the ability to resurrect a model or multiple models back to these units. The opponent's got pressure now. They've got to try and wipe out these Terminators, otherwise they're just going to start restoring them back to play. They're alright in close combat, they're all under power swords. The stave's quite potent in close combat as well. And then the firepower from these is pretty good. The Inferno Combi Bolter, now with the rules of Terminators Rapid Fire 2, but with Terminators they're going to max out at maximum range, so 4 shots each at any range, all the way up to range 24, so fantastic. Just 4 models is 16 shots. Brilliant. I've got a Soul Reaper Cannon in there as well, another 4 shots coming through, strength 5 -3. I've also got a Hellfire Missile Rack as well, heavy 2, strength 8 -2, and D3 damage, just a little bit of anti-monster, anti-tank ability with that. And then the Aspiring Sorcerer, I give the Stave and the Combi Bolter just to add to their firepower. Some games I will have them in amongst my gun line, just to immediately provide a strong screen and a blanket of firepower. Other times, if I need to, I can deep strike them in. But that flexibility is there. They come with that teleportation opportunity or ability. They get all this dust. It's +1 to saving throws. You're on 2 up armor save +1, which is really, really good. 5+ invuln save available. And then the Sorcerer can attempt to manifest a psychic power as well with him. So that's pretty much all there is to say about the Terminators. Just another tough 2 units for the opponent to try and chew through in their attempt to try and get through to the psychic underbelly of this Thousand Suns list. I guess part of my gun line now that if it is contacted in close combat, they can stand up for themselves quite well, you know, with their power swords. And the Stave, which causes strength 6 -1 D3 damage with the Stave, so it's not too bad. And there's all the bonuses going on now for Chaos Space Marines, you know, +1 attack on the charge, or if they are charged, so there's all that benefit to take advantage of as well. So that completes the battalion, the Cult of Time battalion. Nice and tidy, got my HQ choices, tough and dependable units with a bit of flexibility with them. Got a quick HQ with wings, Zangors to bulk out the army as well. But the next layer is to provide even more psychic might to this Thousand Suns list. Some powerful options. And it may be this next element you want to copy and do your own thing with the rest of your Thousand Suns. You might want to copy this combo that I'm going to show you in just a moment. So some more psychic might, and then a mega distraction for the opponent to deal with. And the whole idea of this distraction is to cause mayhem and havoc with these new units that you'll see, and that means that the opponent's not dealing with the psychers, and it just lets them manifest psychic powers one turn after the next. You sort of loads of smite coming through, loads of mortal wounds, and it just rots the opponent's army away as they're gradually smitten and destroyed as they try and deal with all the other threats before they can get through to those psychers. So what I've gone for is a Spearhead Detachment. It's not Cult of Time though. I switch out to a different cult. And this is quite a recent development. It's the Cult of Magic. And I guess as I bring the units out, it'll start to make sense. So with Cult of Magic, you get the psychic power called Astral Blast. It's a warp charge value of 6, so it's quite easy to manifest this power. And again, this power is on top of all the other powers that the psychers know. The closest enemy unit within 9, with 1,000 suns that becomes 15 inches, and visible to the psyker suffers D3 mortal wounds. So smite, as far as that's concerned, a bit shorter range. But it then says, and each other unit within 3 inches of that unit suffers 1 mortal wound as well. So D3 mortal wounds on the target, and then any other units within 3 inches. Great if the opponent's clustering together. It's just chuck out a mortal wound onto all of those as well. So it's, who knows how many mortal wounds you can cause with that. The Brotherhood of Sorcery ability only increases the first range of the psychic power. So that's always 3 inches, it doesn't increase. So I think it's a pretty good power, and there's ways to make it even better, which you'll see in just a moment. So I'll come back to this Cult of Magic, and I'll bring in the first HQ, which, if you know my Thousand Suns army, you know who it's going to be. The party wouldn't be the same without Disco Inferno. So that's his nickname. Disco Inferno, because he's riding a disc, and he's got 2 Infernos on his shoulders, these 2 burning cauldron things just here. So Disco Inferno just had to, had to take that nickname for him, and I've never forgotten that name during a game, so it just helps me remember who's who on the battlefield. So Disco goes, we'll stick him here at the front just for now. So there he is. Fantastic model, brilliant from that Thousand Suns set, and you know, narrative wise and hobby wise, you see I've got units that are unique to the Thousand Suns. I haven't got a load of turquoise painted rhinos and predators. I mean, it's just you could. It's okay, but I've tried to go for Thousand Suns style units. I would be a hypocrite to say I've done no Chaos regular Space Marine or Chaos Space Marine units because I've got Mauler Fiends painted up in turquoise. But as much as I can, I've gone for their unique units as much as possible. And that box set of the Exalted Sorcerers from Games Workshop, if you haven't got a set already, it's beautiful, incredible models, and you get all sorts of different poses and so on with them. But there's Disco Inferno. So he's on a disc. Points costs have come down. I need to go through their points actually. So I'll do the Terminators now. 30 points each now. It's 150 points. Spend 10 points on a Soul Reaper Cannon, 15 points on Hellfire Missile Rack, 12 points on 4 Inferno Combi Bolters. It costs 0 for the stave, and 20 points for 4 lots of Power Swords. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 207 points each. It's 207, 207 for them. Then for him, the Exalted Sorcerer on the disc is 120 points, and that's it. Because I pay, just the way the points have worked out for 2k, I go for Inferno Bolt Pistol, couldn't afford the Warp Flame Pistol, and the stave is 0 points. So just a flat 120 points, cheaper than what it was. I think it's 132, so it's even cheaper than ever before to take Exalted Sorcerers. So this is where some people may disagree. I've invested an extra Warlord trait on him. He's not going to be the Warlord, but it takes an extra Warlord trait and an extra relic on him as well. The more recent games in 8th edition taking this bonus, he was just deadly. So the first is Devastating Sorcery. So that's taken actually from the Cult of Magic options here. So Devastating Sorcery trait is when he manifests a psychic power that inflicts 1 or more mortal wounds on an enemy unit, increase the mortal wounds inflicted on that unit by 1. So when we were talking about earlier on for Astral Blast, D3 mortal wounds becomes D3 plus 1, and then when it spreads out and hits all the other units within 3 inches, it's not 1 mortal wound but it's 2. So 2 mortal wounds dotted about on all the other units nearby. I mean, that's a massive enhancement to that power. So Astral Blast, fantastic. And then you can combine that with Smite, so you're going to go for D3 mortal wounds plus 1, then 2 mortal wounds on all the units nearby, and then another D3 mortal wounds, if not D6 mortal wounds plus 1 with Smite coming through on top of that. I mean, the damage potential of that is crazy. So I think it's worth going for that extra trait to add plus 1 to mortal wounds, and then that costs me a command point, and then it costs me another command point to take Arcane Focus, which is easy to remember. It's just plus 1 to my psychic tests. Very, very straightforward. So there's a high chance of getting Super Smite, the D6 mortal wounds coming through, and it helps him manifest all the other psychic powers that he has. So I think that's well worth doing, just to have dependable, solid, reliable Psyker on the table. Yes, it's cost me a few command points, but it's not the end of the world. I've got 7. I'm going to harvest another 5 during the game. Guaranteed. They're guaranteed to come through. At the start of every turn, you're going to get 1 extra command point coming through at the start of the command phase. So I'll be happy enough for that number of command points. As I said earlier, most of the stratagems just cost you 1 command point anyway. So, because you're getting traits that model has for the entire game. All of his psychic tests from start to the finish of the game are on plus 1. And every time damage is put on another unit in the psychic phase, it's plus 1 mortal wound. So it's well worth doing. So it beefs him up, but I think it's worth going for. He's not as tough as the Demon Prince, so I need to look after him. But the idea of him is he floats around this disc with the Mauler Fiends, which are tough units to try and get through, so they should do a good job of protecting the Exalted Sorcerer on the disc. So 120 points, I've covered the points cost for that. The second HQ choice, and it's Ahriman on a disc. So the 2 pair up nicely. Ahriman, I believe, will not benefit from any of the Cult of Magic bonuses, so he can't manifest Astral Blast because he's a named character. He's not going to get that, but it can be taken and added in to that detachment, no problem. And that fulfills, that maxes me out for HQ choices. 3 in the battalion, 2 allowed in the Spearhead Detachment. But Aaron's coming in, so cost for him, he's gone up by a couple of points, hardly anything. He's now 170 points for him. I'll cover Psychic Powers for both of these. We've covered all the points so far. Now I'll just give you Psychic Powers. So for Araman, I want him kicking out loads of mortal wounds, just to be a mortal wound causing model. So obviously Smite. Then with Araman, you're on +1 to Psychic tests and Deny the Witch tests for him. So any powers is +1. So yeah, nice, solid and dependable Psyker here. +1 to Psychic tests is great. He's nice and quick around the board. You can fight in close combat, but I really just don't want to. He dies half the time if he finds himself in close combat. It's a desperate situation if you find yourself charging in. You should only really put him into combat you know you're going to win. You know, it's against a weaker target, not a 50-50. It's because you'll lose your Psyker. So the idea is to try and keep him alive and stay out of trouble for as long as possible. So Psychic Powers then. We'll do Araman first of all. I want to chuck out a nice lot of psychic damage. So I give him Infernal Gaze, which is easy to manifest, warp charge value of 5 or 4 in his case. 3 dice, 4+ to cause mortal wounds against enemy units. And it needs to be visible, but it doesn't have to be the closest, so it can be anybody. So you can pick on enemy characters and so on with that. Then I give him Death Hex as well. So this is if I need it. Certain situations in the game, it's more difficult to manifest the warp charge value of 8, but he's on +1, so it's 7. It makes it a bit more doable. You select an enemy unit within 12 inches or 18 inches for 1,000 Suns are visible to him, and you remove the Invuln save, and that's going to be a game changer. Find yourself up against Gilliman, for example, strip away his Invuln save. That is always good. So Death Hex there, and then continuing on the ability to cause mortal wounds, I take Tzinch's Firestorm. So warp charge value of 7 or 6 in his case, 9 dice, 6 is mortal wounds. Sometimes you get nothing, sometimes you get 4 6s and cause trouble. So just loads of Psychic Powers plus your regular Smite, and he's manifesting 3. And remember the stratagem for the 1,000 Suns lets you manifest another Psychic Power on top of that as well. So, and he can deny 3. It's crazy. And then denying 3, you're on +1 to your Deny the Witch tests with him. So he's mightily useful. And because I might play him semi-aggressively, he's pushing up the Spearhead Detachment. He's there in the middle of the board, and he's got good range for denying Psychic Powers and causing damage, and in range of his other more aggressive Psychic Powers as well. So Araman is in. Then Psychic Powers, important ones for Disco Inferno. I give him Diabolic Strength, so he can help out the Mauler Fiends here. Warp charge value of 6, or needing a 5 in his case because he's on +1. Heretic Astartes unit model within 12 inches or 18 inches of the Psyker in total. It's +2 strength and +1 attack. Really good on Mauler Fiends as they try and munch through vehicles. You know, boosts up their strength, extra attacks is good. Or he can play it on himself or another model nearby. It has to be a model though, not a unit, so it could help out with imprints, give him an extra attack and +2 strength, always good. So there's that one, plus his regular Smite, plus his Astral Blast, and then Warp Time. And you know, usually I really want that to go off. It's a 6, which is quite doable, but now it's a 5 because he's on +1, so that's really, really helpful. If manifested, select a Heretic Astartes unit with 3 or 9 inches of the Psyker, usually it's a Mauler Fiend, you can move again. If you didn't advance, you'll be able to charge. So 10-inch move of Mauler Fiend, 10-inch move of Mauler Fiend, and now with the smaller gaming table for 9th edition, that may well be more of a potent option to go for. It means that I'm running 3 Mauler Fiends up the board, one of them can surge right ahead and get an early charge in if required. Or he can play it himself if he needs to relocate. 12 inches, and advance, 12 inches, and advance. You can move quite quick around the board as well. So I think I've told you everything here. This is the whole plan for this list, but it's to help you out as you build your own armies up. You can take elements of this, and you might say, "Oh yeah, I love the idea of these 2 models, or the whole structure of your battalion," or you can take elements of it and change things around. Or if you have the option, you can copy this list entirely and experiment with it. It seems it's sort of an army that's quite hard to get your head around, but once you start using it and seeing it in play, I think you start to see the strengths of it. But we'll go on to heavy support. Smaller fiends, not the most popular of choices for Thousand Suns. They lack any kind of firepower, but for distracting the opponent, you can't ignore Mauler Fiends. You'd be mad not to try and deal with them. You can't have these running around the table causing absolute havoc, because the opponent has to try and deal with them. And 3 of them usually proves to be a bit of a nightmare. 2 of them paired up can charge into an Imperial Knight and bring it down. I've seen that happen, and so they're not to be ignored on the table. So here's one. I tried to vary them around by rearing this one up and putting some rocks from the garden on here, and then some smashed up bits, actually spare bits from a Blood Angels Dreadnought kit. Just there. Imagine he's just smashed into a Dreadnought, ripped it to pieces, and then the remains of it have rolled across the top of this hill. So there's that one. And then there's 2 more. Just one I painted as standard, just on its normal base. And again, if you like the way these have come out, I have magnetised these as well. The full in-depth painting tutorial is available now on the Plus channel. I'll stick that one there. We'll zoom out in a moment and see the whole army. And then here's the other one. Again, I reared him up on some rocks from the garden just to add a bit of variety, like so. Because you're conscious of 3 of the same, it's quite hard to pose these differently. So instead I changed the base around. Adds a bit of variety with them. Again, all magnetised if I do decide to go for the Magma Cutter option, which, yeah, it's okay. As Magma Cutters is pistol 1, so you get 2 shots, but it's forced to hit, which isn't amazing. It's not very good at all. Strength 8, -4, 3 damage. I fancy my chances more in close combat, so I've gone for the Lash of Tendrils. It means you can diversify what you charge into a bit more. The Lash of Tendrils is going to give you 6 extra attacks at the strength of the user, which is strength 6 usually. AP -2 and 2 damage. I found it to be so much more helpful if you're trying to add on extra wounds onto a vehicle, or you plough into some heavy infantry. Primaris Marines, much more useful. Like, definitely. So Lash of Tendrils is what I've gone for. Mauler Fiends are 130 points now, some slight increase of them, and the Lash of Tendrils are 10 points, and then the fists they come with are 0. And the fists are ×2 strength, so strength 12 usually. It can be more with some help from psychic powers and so on, like diabolic strength. AP -3, which is great. That's flat 3 damage, which is excellent. Really good. With the Mauler Fiends, you're getting, it's like a vehicle, like a tank. It's built like a tank. Toughness 7, 12 wounds, which is above average really for a tank. 3 up save. Got a 5+ infund save. Auto restores a wound every turn. Brilliant. Temporal manipulation on top of that, restoring even more wounds. So fantastic. The opponent has to just slay them and destroy them, otherwise they'll just start regaining wounds and come back again. I've had them where they've gone down to 1 or 2 wounds left, and then a few turns later they're back up to 8, 9, 10, 11 wounds with the help of auto restore wounds and temporal manipulation, so it can drive an opponent mad when that happens. So Mauler Fiends are in. I take 3 of them, because one of them's going to get shot at. 2 of them, well, you lose 1, you've only got 1 left, so 3 is a good number to have. It looks good on the board having 3 Mauler Fiends rumbling up the table. The idea of these is you throw them in the opponent's face. They cannot ignore them, they have to deal with them, and if they deal with them, they're not dealing with the rest of the army, and it then protects the Psychers. There's sort of a cunning layers here, like trying to peel an onion for the opponent, and hopefully it brings tears to their eyes as they try and break through the different layers to get to the juicy Psychers that need to be destroyed as well. So that's the kind of idea we've got going with this Thousand Suns list. So I've covered the points for them, 140 points each in total. I think they're really cheap for what they can do. They're actually pretty quick. They've got a 10-inch move with them. Strength 6 as standard, and then 4 attacks each. They're going to get an extra attack on the charge, I believe. They don't get Death to the False Emperor, which is a shame. But you can play Diabolic Strength on them to boost their attacks and strength. And then you can play Demon Forge, which is only 1 command point. Use a strategy when you're shooting or fight phase and a Thousand Suns demon vehicle is chosen to attack. Reroll failed hit and wound rolls for that unit. It really helps them out with their 4+ to hit in close combat. Rerolling that ability and rerolling your wounds suddenly is all of a sudden makes them really good. As I said, 2 of them pairing up can bring down an Imperial Knight if you roll well. So they're forced to hit, but on the bright side, that 4+ to hit doesn't change. So even if they're on 1 wound left, it's still forced to hit. Yes, your attacks drop and your strength drops, but it's always forced to hit. So that's one of the upsides of that. Really looking at 4 attacks, extra 1 on the charge, plus 6 attacks for Lash of Tendrils, and that's without any help from anywhere else coming in as well. They're a Thousand Suns unit, so they can get the reroll ones, benefiting from things like Exalted Sorcerers and Demon Princes, just to try and help them out a little bit as they try and hit their target. Okay, so that is the Thousand Suns list. I think I've covered everything. We'll zoom out now and you can take a look at the footprint of this army as we come to a close of this complete army video. Alright, so there it is, that's the list, just to give you an idea of the footprint of the army. So you've got Spearhead Detachment here with 1, 2, 3 Mauler Fiends, all equipped the same. You throw those at the opponent, Psychic Support moving up behind them with damage being caused, and then Psychic Powers to help them out, like Warp Time to make them quicker, Diabolic Strength as well. Ahriman may well join them, dishing out his Psychic Powers as well, removing invuln saves from targets that these are going to go into. And the idea of these is the first line of attack, so massive screen, distraction, diversion. If the opponent's the opponent has to deal with them. He can't ignore 3 Mauler Fiends rumbling towards you, so that immediately creates a problem for the opponent to try and deal with. Then the second layer of protection is my tougher infantry squads, so that's coming from the Battalion, the Cult of Time, so Terminators, deep striking in or bolstering the line, a solid unit of Rubric Marines. Then lighter stuff here, Zangor units, just to provide a lighter screen and to bulk the army out and to make it a bit more of a presence on the battlefield, and more stuff the opponents try and chew through. Then some nice dependable Psychers, Exalted Sorcerers, 2 of them here, granting benefits and restoring wounds and restoring models back to play. And then finally the Warlord himself, the Demon Prince, who's tough enough and he's guaranteed to return to the board if he's destroyed at any point during the game. It's nice and tough with him. So that's the theme of the Thousand Suns then. Diversion, strong screen, and then strong Psychic Powers being manifested, hopefully throughout the game, right to the very end. And it just eats away at the opponent's army. And it's a nasty way to try and break down an enemy army. But that's the strong theme that's going on with the Thousand Suns. I think it matches their theme. They are meant to be very Psychic heavy. With those loads of sorcerers and so on going on. Nice Thousand Suns themed units being used, and then the Mauler Fiends being brought in to help them out as well. That's the list of the Thousand Suns. If you agree with the list, think it's really good, then leave that in the comment section. If you don't for any reason, then you can leave your comments as well. If you're an experienced player for the Thousand Suns, then what do you think of this list? What would you add? What would you take out? You can make your predictions as to how well you think it will do in 9th edition, and then just keep a lookout for Thousand Suns content on the channel, and hopefully they'll do well for our season battle reports, and hopefully it'll be a smooth transition for this list from 9th or from 8th edition over to 9th edition. And if you like the look of the army and you want to copy the paint scheme, then check out the Plus channel. There's 3 painting tutorials all available over there. One for the Mauler Fiend, one for the Zangors, one for the Rubric Marines, and you can apply that technique to all the models that you see here, and hopefully those painting tutorials will be a good guide for you as you paint up your own Thousand Suns force. But that's the video. Keep a lookout for more content on the channel. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time.